Hi, I'm Stephen Bagley, your host for this Many Rivers Harbor video chat special. Today we're going to be talking with the authors of Blackbirds Second Flight, a new anthology that came out in March that features dark and twisted fantasy and science fiction stories. Right now we're going to be talking to, well, I'll tell you everyone who's here. First, there's Wendy. Say hi, Wendy.
Hi, Wendy.
And this is Jean. Say hi, Jean. And say hi, Heath.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, Heath, we'll start right off with the questions. We had people write in, and we got 20 questions, and we're going to start off with the questions for Heath right now. Heath, Theo asks you, is the science and reflections indicative of current cancer research?
Yes and no. I did quite a bit of research, and if we could jump into the future, and I'm going to guess 10 to 15, and I could say yes, it is quite accurate. A lot of the researchers are going in this direction, but we're not there yet. They've tried everything in the past, from giving you other diseases that are curable in the hopes of killing it, to the old classic standby of radiation and chemotherapy. But what I write about in that story, for all intent and purpose, just consider it fantasy.
David wanted to know, let me find his question, I lost it here. He says that Gangsters has an odd view of heaven. What inspired that view of heaven?
Well, that's a good question. And it's an odd answer. It was one of those things I've explained to you in the past. I think in the previous interview we did, I explained that a lot of times scenes just pop into my head, and that short story for Gangsters was a scene that had popped into my head, and I wanted to use it as a beginning, an introduction for a full-length novel, out that way. As the story went on, it kind of petered out. I didn't like where it was going, and so I backed it up to what you read now, put an ending on it, and just basically deleted the rest. But that scene, I don't want to give any spoilers for those who haven't read it, was something that just popped into my head as something, like a what-if situation. It was just something I felt I had to put down on paper. I'm not in any way saying that, yes, in any way indicative of what heaven is really like or the players involved. It was just a what if.
Right. Keith, I know that you have a book, Whispers, coming out, or actually Whispers has recently came out. And tell us a little bit about Whispers. Also, your daughter's noises are overwhelming you.
Hey, just a second. Y'all need to hold it down, please. Whispers has actually been out for a little bit. I just recently put it on sale to get it in front of more eyes. It's a vengeful ghost story that starts more than 100 years ago in the Old West. It was my favorite story out of all of them I've written, and the people who have read it thought that it had potential to be more than what it is. Because it's a standalone novel, it just hasn't gotten the attention that the series books has gotten. And most of the people have told me that you'll find that when you've got a series that people are into, like the Monster Squad, your standalone stories might get read by your hardcore fans, but most of the others, they just won't look at it. That's very. I mean, I've talked to a lot of other authors who are much better established than I am, whose name is much better well known. The one that comes to my mind is Mark Tufo. He has a standalone book called The Spirit Clearing, which, in my opinion, is probably his best work. The ending totally threw me. I didn't see it coming, and it's one of those books. And when I got through reading it, I felt like it needs to be about 400 pages longer because I didn't want it to end. But since he's got a really popular zombie series out, nobody reads it. It doesn't get the attention it should get. And that's what I was encountering with Whisper. So I put it on sale for 99 cents. I put the word out, and I just want people to read this. And it's a long book. It's over 150,000 words. And in today's world where people are lucky if they get a 60,000 word novel, that's a long read. But when I wrote it, I'm one of those, I know the beginning, I know the end. What happens in the middle, that's the adventure. And if it takes 400,000 words, okay, I'll break it into 2 or 3. But that's what that story was. It was one big story. I put it out that way. I wanted people to get their money's worth. I had it up for $3.99. I thought they were getting a bargain, and it wasn't selling. So I thought I'd put it out for 99 cents, let people experience it, and hopefully they'll enjoy it as much as I did writing it.
Now, when it's 99 cents, that means it's on Amazon for digital download?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. The paper version, unfortunately, is quite expensive.
Okay, so if they want to find it, they go to Amazon and look for your name, or they look for Whispers, and they'll find it for this download. How long are you going to have it at 99 cents?
Probably just for a couple of weeks. If it doesn't get the traction that I want it to get, then there's no sense in beating the dead horse, so to speak. You can lead them to water, but you can't force them to read. I can only do what I can do.
Well, it's a little bit like faith. You put it out there in the world, and you see where it goes. Heath, I know you have to leave because you've got a softball game you got to get your kids to. Any last words for our viewers?
Pick up Blackbirds too. I really think you're going to enjoy it. We've got a lot of talent in this collection. Covers everything from poetry to dark fiction, and I can't speak highly of it enough.
Well, Heath, we sure appreciate you joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Stephen. Thanks. Y'all take care.
All right, take care. Okay, we'll pick up with some of the others here. Actually, I'll answer a question right now that was given to me, and I'm going to toss it out to y'all too so you can ask it, where it says that Cheryl asked me, what does it mean, dark anthology? Vampires and witches? Well, do we actually have any witches in the book? I was thinking about that. We have no witches and we have no vampires. Dark, in my viewpoint, just meant that we were going to be conscious of the fact that we have, I don't know, dark things in our life, where the stories do not necessarily have to have a happy ending, where bad things happen to good people, and they deal with the consequences in them. But it does not mean that the endings are always depressing, or that everybody dies, or that that it's despairing. It's just more cognitive of the realities, and also because this was fantasy, we were dealing with some dark issues that some of our characters faced off against, but we weren't out there deliberately writing gore, or we were out there deliberately writing dark for the sake of dark. Wendy, do you have any thoughts on that?
When I used to think dark before the whole Blackbirds thing came about, I would think Stephen King, the kind of horror, gory, bloody, and that my view has changed. It's really tempered a lot to kind of be more Poe-like, Edgar Allan Poe. I tell people it's kind of like the Twilight Zone.
That's a good comparison. Gene, would you have anything to add?
Yeah, I had a little trouble with dark when we first got going with it. But since we've been doing it, it isn't as depressing as I thought it had to be, or as horrific as I would have thought. But I think you described it pretty well in covering the, the tougher side of life, I guess. And from a fantasy perspective, it allows you to explore those areas, in other ways. In my case, with using the cats, I could look at it, things that people might have to deal with in real life, but from a cat perspective, I feel I can relate to that a little better, and hopefully some of the people reading can too.
Well, it's a good thing you talked about cats, because our very next question is Sherry asks Jean, what is the best way to introduce a new kitten to our current cats? We have 2 cats already and 1 a third, but both Pirate, patch on one eye, and Lois fight a lot already. So how would Sherry introduce a new cat?
That's a tough question. There's a number of ways out there where you can do it, but it may or may not work for your individual cats. I have several cats right now that just do not get along. One way I've heard that sounds very promising, somebody has a screen door that they put up that will keep the cats separate, but they have a chance to sniff one another through that door. I think the number one way you really shouldn't introduce cats is just throw them together. It puts a very stressful environment for both of them, or for as many as you have. You also remember the new cat is coming into a very new environment that it's going to be uncertain about. So you want it to maybe isolate it for a few days for it to get used to you, and for you to get used to the house, for it to get used to the house, and then gradually open up the areas of the house that it's able to interact with. And maybe if you have multiple cats that you need to introduce it to, only introduce it to one at a time in a controlled environment, where maybe you're holding one and you let one or the other sniff the other and approach, but you want to create a safe environment for all your kitties.
For viewers who might not have read the bios in the back of the book, the reason why Jean got the cat question is because Jean rescues cats, and she has 9 rescue cats right now, and then you also have some cats that are feral cats outdoor that you help take care of. Is that if I got the numbers right?
You're close. I have 8 in the house, and 1 outside that will talk to me, let me hold her, let me carry her around, and I've got 2 or 3 others outside that are being fed and I'm trying to interact with. One of them I was able to trap last year, so he's been neutered and had his shots. The other 2 I still haven't been able to get. One of them I'm making some progress with. Fancy Feast is a wonderful tool.
Well, going from animals that you can put into your lap to animals that you cannot, Wendy, Tom wanted to know, are your dragons inspired by Smaug from Lord of the Rings, or the Dragon Riders of Pern, or the Dragon Riders of Berg? Smiley face. Good story.
Actually, the answer is none of the above. I didn't even know about Smaug when I started writing dragons back in the late 90s. So my dragons are all kind of based on Dungeons and Dragons and the Palladian gaming system. And everything started with role-playing. So that's where the dragons came from, and that's what they're inspired by.
Okay. He also asked, do you have an illustration of your dragons? That would make a fantastic book cover.
It certainly would, and no, I don't. I have paintings that my daughter did. Do y'all want to see the paintings?
Yes. Are you going to share those? I thought I was hoping you would share those. Okay.
That's the first one.
That's the first one.
And the second.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Original artwork by Victoria Blanton.
I have no artistic talents. I'm always amazed by the people that do. Jean, we also have another question from Sherry, Jean. My aunt told, whoops, I need to switch over to Jean. Are you with me, Jean? There you are.
I'm with you.
Sherry wanted to know, my aunt told me rescue cats are hard to housebreak. Are they? And then she says, I love Malone, which happens to be a cat in our Blackbirds Second Flight.
I love Malone, too.
So are they hard to housebreak? Are rescue cats hard to housebreak?
Well, I don't know. I think it would depend on the individual cat. Mine have been good. One of the things I do when I first bring them into the house, I isolate them into a very large dog cage. It would be a dog cage that a Saint Bernard could fit in comfortably, but it's a wire cage, and it's big enough to hold a litter box and a cat carrier and their food and their water, and give them room to move around a little bit. So they get isolated until they get healthy, and I can kind of watch how they use the litter box and things like that. So I haven't brought an adult cat in, so I don't really know if that's an easy or a difficult thing to do. Sneaky appears to do pretty well with a litter box when I bring her in, but she hasn't been in for extended periods of time, except in the cage. She's been getting more out and about time, but she hasn't really had an opportunity, been in the house long enough to use a litter box during her times out. So I don't know if there's a problem with her doing that or not. The kittens that have come in have adapted pretty quickly to a litter box. The times I've had trouble with them using a litter box is when they've had urinary tract infections or things like that, which is a totally different problem from housebreaking using a litter box in the house and things like that. But I would say that probably some cats are and some cats aren't.
Okay.
Bad answer,
I would like to
maybe.
add that, Stephen,
Yes.
all of my cats have been rescues, and I've never, ever had trouble with litter boxes, except for my one diabetic cat, and that was for a very short time.
Oh, okay. Good to know. We're going to do our first book giveaway, and the very first person, well, actually, it'll be the fifth person that emails Many Rivers Harbor, that's M-A-N-Y, Harbor, H-A-R-B-O-R, Many Rivers Harbor, at gmail.com. The fifth person that does so will receive a free copy of Blackbird's First Flight. And this is only available for people in the United States and Canada. So it'll be the fifth person who sends it to Many Rivers Harbor at gmail.com. Send an email, and in the subject line put giveaway, and when you win a book, what more can you ask for? Okay, and we're going to switch. I'm going to try to show you the book screen, so bear with me while I do so. And this is the book cover, so you get the idea and of what we have in there, which is, and in the back it lists some of the stories, give you some of the themes and the what people are doing in this book. So, oh wow, okay, we already have a winner. So wow, okay, and we'll stop sharing and go back to seeing y'all. Wow, that was quick. All right, that was quick.
Who won it?
I don't know. I'm actually not. A friend of mine's doing that, and she just sent me a text and said, "Make them stop." So we'll be doing another giveaway, and actually she just sent me this text on my phone, and she was like, "Make them stop. You're blowing up my email account apparently." So okay. So I'll find out here in a few moments. She's listening, so send me a text, would you? And then we'll find out who won it. Okay, and then I have a question for me. Nancy asked me, when will there be another Bernard and Lisa mystery? And I have a series of cozy murder mysteries. The first one was Murder by Dewey Decimal, and the second was Murder by the Acre, and they're available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and all those other places. And the third one should be out toward the end of this year, and it's called Murder by the Mile. So Nancy, toward the end of this year, Murder by the Mile, which is sort of a reboot of the series. I'm not really changing anything, but I am reacquainting people because it's been nearly 3 years since the last book, and I want to catch people up on it. Okay, and now Neil wanted to know, by the way, we got 47 entries for that book.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, I know this first name is Ramirez, but I cannot pronounce your last name, and I'm sorry about that. I don't want to take a chance on it, but we'll get a book to you, and they'll be asking you for your mailing address and a telephone number, and we'll be getting a book out there to you. Thank you for everyone for participating. Okay, Jean Neal wanted to know, do you think cats really communicate in complex ways with other cats? And if so, how?
I would like to think they do, but then I think if they did, I would hope that, for instance, I would hope Sneaky would tell the other cats that I'm really not so bad, that they could hang out and let me pet them and stuff like that, but she doesn't seem to be telling them that. Now, maybe because she wants to keep all the attention for herself, maybe she wants all the fancy feast for herself, I don't know. But I would hope that if that were the case, they would tell them to do that. If that were also the case, I would hope that they would be sticking up for Rossi, my cat that's getting beat up by my other cat, by Lady, and they would be telling Lady, hey, no, back off, leave her alone, but they don't seem to be doing that. So that kind of blows my theory that maybe they might talk to another or have complex communications with each other, but maybe those aren't the things that are important to them. So it's possible that they have communication that I don't really understand or that we don't understand. I think it's feasible, but how would they do it? I'm not really sure. There are some theories out there that they're able to communicate telepathically in some way, but I don't know that there's any proof or validation of that.
Gene, some of our viewers may not be aware of, when you talk about Sneaky, about why you feed feral cats and what's going on with that. We talked about that in a previous interview, but I've got a text about that. They're like, who is Sneaky, her husband? So I don't know. So anyway, tell us about your program you have going on there.
Okay, Sneaky is an outside cat who was feral that I was unable to trap her to get her spayed. So because she would never set off the trap. She would go in and clean out the trap of food, but she would walk out without setting it off and getting trapped. So that's why I named her Sneaky. But I was able to befriend her when her siblings disappeared and she got lonely. And Fancy Feast was how I did that. And she's my outdoor cat who's really our cat now, but she started out as a feral. The reason I'm doing that is the story goes back to a couple years ago, probably more than a couple years ago now, probably 5 years ago or so. We had an explosion of cats in the neighborhood that were causing problems. You know, they were not being spayed, they weren't being neutered. The animal control was trapping them and taking them away, probably not to good ends. And when I noticed some cats coming back into the neighborhood that's probably 3-4 years ago now, I realized that it would be good to have a small colony of cats because they keep down rodents and things like that in the neighborhood. They also keep the cat population kind of in check because they have their territories. But if you let them reproduce, you get far too many cats, and it causes the problems that we were having that started the whole thing. So by trapping them and getting them neutered and spayed, and then releasing them into the neighborhood again, and providing them food since they were now not reproducing, they could keep a neighborhood colony in a comfortable level. You know, they wouldn't have hundreds or thousands of cats. You wouldn't have that many anyway, but it seems like it when you have too many. And that's why I wanted to keep a small colony of cats in the neighborhood. And so far, that seems to be working.
Okay. I'm going to answer a question here, and then Kyra Childers will be taking over and moderate a few questions to give me a little bit of a break. But Neil wanted to know why. Neil asked me, why did you choose Tulsa as a setting for your grave stories? Tulsa doesn't seem a very dark place. The stories about Justina are great, but Tulsa seems an odd setting. Well, Neil, I chose Tulsa because I live in Oklahoma, and Tulsa has buildings, and there's a lot of books, or at least I'd read a lot of books that were set in Oklahoma City. And also, this is not the Tulsa of our world. I mean, the geography is somewhat the same, but of course, she lives in a world where there's Netherlings and vampires and revelants and shamans, and all those things. So her world is darker. It's very similar to ours, but I don't want to. It's not one of those things where there's a conspiracy and everybody keeps quiet about it and they all hide that, because when you look at the high body count in the Justina Graves story, as well as the explosions and everything else, those things are hard to cover up. And while I'm sure there's a lot of that covering up that goes on, it's not the Tulsa that we currently live in. So that's it. And then just because I've always loved Tulsa, I think Tulsa is a very interesting city. If you ever visit it, it's very beautiful. It has a lot of museums and artwork, and has a lot of nightclubs and restaurants. And when I was going to school at OSU, I used to pull off the interstate and go to a comic book store that was just like one exit off of the interstate. And I don't know, it's always had kind of a special place for me. And I'm going to put back up the book, and then we're going to do a little switch over, and then when we come back, Kyra will be with us. So, and yes, while we're doing that, why don't we give away another book? This time, the 10th person. Wait before you start. In the subject line, put "I love Blackbirds Second Flight," and then send that to me. And at minnieriversharbor@gmail.com. That's minnieriversharbor@gmail.com. And now I'm going to put the screen up of the book, and we'll be taking like a couple-minute break. So, go smoke them if you got them. I don't think anybody smokes anymore. So, but anyway, so hopefully we'll be sharing this screen in just a moment. At least that's my plan. Okay.
Not sharing.
Ask these 3 questions. And then I'm going to put the earbuds in so you can hear. And, oops. So I'm asking those 3. Yes. And let me get that away. And when they talk, click on their picture. Okay.
All right.
You go.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Kyra.
Hi, Kyra.
I'm a newbie, so be gentle.
Oh, sure.
Neil asked Wendy, how much world building did you do for your dragon rescue story? And how big is the world? How does a creature as large as a dragon fly?
Well, Neil, I'm so glad you asked. Honestly, I really didn't do much world building when I wrote the story. When I started it, I had one line, and that was a line that was provided to me by my friend, and it was the one about fire exploding across the sky. So doing the book, I really didn't do a lot of world building, but the story has gotten such great acceptance that I'm doing more now so that I can write more about the world. And as far as the dragons flying, I actually have done some research about this, and I will post a link to an article that my daughter sent me. I have 2 resident scientists, and both have weighed in, and here's what we've come up with. Now, I do have to tell you that this is only for dragons in the worlds that I create. If you run into a dragon in the wild, in another world, they may have completely different physiology. But here's what we've come up with. They have a fairly large wingspan, although it's kind of smaller relative to their body than you might think. Not quite 2 to 1 according to their body length. And they also have a long tail, which helps with the lift. But what really helps them get off the ground, apart from exceptional musculature and points where their muscles attach, extra points where their muscles and tendons attach to each other and to the bone, is they have sacs within their body that contain ethylene gas. Now, the ethylene is lighter than air, so it kind of makes the dragons a little bit more buoyant, kind of gives them a little bit of a leg up, so to speak, when they launch. So they're really not as heavy as you might think. But the ethylene gas, when combined with a little bit of sulfuric acid from their stomachs, that's what produces the flame. So that's Dragon Physiology 101.
All right, thank you. Okay. See if I can do this. Okay, David asks Gail. Where's Gail?
Gail's not here.
It's not here.
Okay, well then I can't ask Gail that, can I?
Maybe we should answer
You can
Gail's
ask,
questions.
but she's not going to
Here,
answer
okay,
right now.
wait. It says your poems are stunning. Why are you fascinated by mythology? Go. No, I'm just kidding. I know, we're playing. Which one did you want me to do? This one? We'll do this. Okay. David asks Jean, how do you manage a household of 10 cats? What is the feed bill like? Aren't there outdoor cats tough on the local bird population?
Well, I'll start with the feed bill. The outside cats, probably I use Purina Special Diet urinary tract formula for them, and I buy it in a 22-pound bag, which is about $30 a bag, and that lasts a couple of months, really, for the outside cats, because it's on a timed feeder that drops food twice a day, enough for 3 cats to eat and survive healthily. They can supplement. Are they tough on the outdoor bird population? I haven't noticed that. I know that there are people who think they are, but I've seen dead mice in the driveway, but I've not seen dead birds. So I don't know about that. As for the inside cats, I've had some trouble with urinary tract problems. I think that the last batch of ferals I brought in have some genetic predisposition to having urinary problems, so they are on a special diet, and that special diet is from the vet, and it's $58 a bag for 17-pound bag. That usually lasts about a month. So for the 8 cats inside, they eat less of the special diet than they did of the Purina, which is kind of interesting. They haven't lost any weight, so I figure it's probably just as effective for them. Managing the cats, well...
You manage cats?
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Well, but there are some issues, because I have a cat that's very reclusive, that she's one of the younger feral kittens who are now 2 years old. They're not really kittens anymore. She pretty much lives underneath a dresser. You've heard about cats that hide in the closet. She's one that hides under a dresser. She comes out at night, and she will talk to my husband, but she doesn't like me. One problem we have is this reclusive cat one of my other cats. Her name is Lady. She will attack Rossi. So that's probably partly why Rossi's reclusive. She doesn't want to be attacked. We've tried a number of ways to diffuse that between them, but it has not worked. So Lady would also attack the other cats sometimes. So we ended up having to put Lady on some Prozac, kitty Prozac, and that helps keep her fairly even going. She's always good with people, not so good with other cats. But the other thing we do is we put Lady and Daphne, I was talking about earlier, at night. And that gives Rossi an opportunity to roam freely if she wants to and come down and eat without fear of being attacked. Daphne is another adoptee from outside who she's not too big of a problem with Rossi, but she will sometimes pick a fight with her in the morning and it disturbs my husband's sleep. So, for peace in the household, we put them in, and the funny thing is they've gotten so used to this that I try to put them to bed, is what we call it, at about 8 o'clock at night. So about 7:15 at night, they start hanging around as if they know what's going on. And in the past month or so, they've just started going in. I go to the cage and hold the door open, and they go in, and I give them their treat, and they go to bed for night. So they seem to have adapted pretty comfortably to that routine. And they just sleep, and so it's kind of a way of managing the household. Anytime you've got a large number of cats, you will probably have somebody who doesn't like somebody else, just like people. So they're hopefully, if you only have 1 or 2 cats, that won't be as much of a problem. But there are ways of dealing with it.
Okay, I'm a little behind on the loop. How many cats do you actually have?
I have 8 in the house, and 1 outside that will let me pet her and hold her and carry her and talk to her, and 3 others that I'm working on. One of those 3 has been neutered. The other 2 males have not been. So
okay,
we're working on that.
Interesting.
Yes.
Hi, how's everybody? Okay, Stephen's going to take back over now so that you have a pro back in there.
Oh, you've been doing great, Kara.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Is that all?
Aww.
Okay.
All right. Trey Simmons won. So, Trey, if you would send us your mailing address and telephone number, and the shipping place needs the mailing address and telephone number. But anyway, Trey won, and we got 76 entries for that.
Wow.
Anyway, what I was doing was actually going to watch us. I wanted to see what we look like on the tablet, and unfortunately, it looks just like me, okay? So, okay, let's pick up on the questions here.
You're saying we all look like you?
No, I'm just saying, unfortunately, I look like me, so.
Well, that's good that you're realistic anyway.
Yeah. David asked, what inspired you to publish Blackbird's First Flight and Blackbird's Second Flight? And then I'm going to ask you two what inspired you to participate. So be thinking of your answers. Really, it was just I wanted an opportunity to publish some of my own writings as well as that of my friends. That it's very difficult right now to break into traditional publishing. It's practically impossible. It's very much who you know. And in this case, I guess it was who I knew in this case I wanted it to be. And I had put out a book of poetry for Gail Henderson and a book of poetry for me, and then I had done some for the local writing group, and published books for it. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to have an anthology featuring stories from both my friends, and then also following a certain theme, following a certain a look, a chance to have a really nice cover. And anyway, and that's what inspired me to publish it. I felt like there was a market for stories out there. And we'll pick it up on Gene. Gene, what made you participate?
Well, for Blackbird's First Flight, I had some poems that I liked, but didn't have a market for. So when you asked, I had an opportunity to put them together, and with some revision, got them sent out, and I think they came out pretty well. And then with the story Quinn, that one had been a writing prompt response from probably, 12, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it had to be modified significantly to make it publishable, but I think we had some fun with it, putting it together. So for that one, it was some old writing that had been sitting around and didn't have an audience, but I thought, and I think Blackbird's First Flight has provided a good audience for that material. And for Blackbird's Second Flight, I didn't have a lot of short stuff sitting around, because my focus has been on longer pieces. So I had to create some shorter pieces for Blackbird's Second Flight, and I had some fun doing that. And thanks to Stephen for the suggestion to use the cats, that helped me find a few stories, and I hope you'll enjoy them.
Okay, hold on just a second. I'm perhaps people miss this, but stop sending entries, okay? We're still receiving entries, and and you can't win anymore. I like hearing from you, but wait for the next contest to come up, okay? And there we go. And let me get over here to Wendy. Wendy, what about you participating?
Well, my story is very much like Gene's. You emailed me and said, hey, I'm doing a dark anthology, send me stuff, and I went, dark, me? Who are you talking to? Really? But I did have some things that turned out were dark, and I just didn't know it. So, yeah, Blackbird's First Flight was very much like Gene's experience. I had the stuff sitting around, and it wasn't doing anything, so we put it to good use. Second Flight was... First Flight was very much a learning experience. We did a lot of editing. The three of us really together did a lot of editing on that. And so it seems like Second Flight came together a lot faster. I had a better idea of what was needed. And I just think the stories fit together better. It's interesting. We've talked on different broadcasts about how we have similarities in our stories. I have a Ferguson mine, and Jean has a Ferguson one of hers, and there's several of those little things that we didn't plan that worked out. And I just think it's so cool that we're kind of in sync now after 2 books.
I'm going to go off of the script here too, just because I think it'll be interesting on this. Jean, you talked about, and I'm going to come back to you, Wendy, too, so you have a little bit more preparation. But you talked about longer novels that you're working on, Jean. And I know one of your book that the big project you're working on is Polar Bear on the Loose, which is going to come out in 2016, right? And
we hope so. Boy, I'd hope to do it in August this year, but there's just no way it's going to happen.
So tell us about Polar Bear.
Polar Bear on the Loose, it started out as my first Nano novel back in 2003.
Okay, explain Nano for the people who don't know
Nano
what
is
that is.
National Novel Writing Month, where you write a 50,000-word novel in 30 days in November.
30, you mean 30 days, right?
30. Did I say something else?
You said 3 days, which was really impressive. Okay, I was like,
wow, that's too impressive for me. No, in 30 days, 30. And I started out just knowing I wanted to write about a polar bear who was trying to live in human society. And it's changing a little bit from that, but the story is still the same. It's about a polar bear who, as part of an experiment.
Whoops, we lost you, Jean.
Oh dear.
I don't know what happened to Jean, so hopefully she'll notice.
And she gets a vocal implant so that she can speak, and that will allow her to interface more effectively with humans. And then she goes. The story is her journey from the wild to living among humans, kind of as a human.
Jean, for a moment there, we lost you. You went blank. So we got that the story was about a polar bear, and then it went blank, and it sort of picked up about a vocal box. So, do that again for us, would you?
Sure. She was captured in the wild, and to allow her to communicate with humans as part of the experiment, she had a vocal implant so that she could learn English, to speak it. And that would help her interface with humans. The story is the challenges she faces as she goes from a wild bear to a bear living in human society, when some of the challenges are not ones she anticipated or that her captors anticipated.
What made you decide to write about a polar bear? I mean, how did that happen?
I've just always liked polar bears since I was a kid.
Okay. Now, Wendy, you've had a little bit more time, but right now I think your book is called Keeper of the Doves, right?
Keeper of Doves, yes.
Keeper of Doves. That's the current title, although you say it may change. But
well, you never know.
It's a historical novel, so tell us about it.
Yeah, it's set in 1925, mostly in Chicago. We do a little brief four-way to Detroit, but most of it is Chicago. And it's about a young woman who is the daughter of a wealthy family who was kidnapped by a grifter and raised to be a criminal. And it's her story of how she finds out about who she really is and trying to go straight and kind of build relationships with her real family while trying to preserve the relationship with the man she thinks is her father.
I read an early draft of this, and you have her meeting a famous Chicago gangster. Tell us about that.
She is, she and her supposed father, her kidnapper, are friends with Al Capone and his wife May. And it's been very interesting to do the research, living in Chicago now as I do, on Al and May, and kind of taking some liberties, but trying to stay pretty true to the characters themselves, the real people.
Well, we think of Al Capone, and of course we think gangsters and all mobsters and all that, but yep. There were many people that were very loyal to the Capone family and yes. to them. Mm-hmm. Was that a surprise for you?
Not really, no. He was Italian, and Italians are really tight, so just as a culture, they stick together.
Do you think this will be a series or a standalone?
I'm not sure yet. I think maybe it's a standalone, but you never know. I may come up with some more. I thought the stories in Blackbirds First Flight would be standalone, and now there's 2 stories, and there may be more. So you just never know.
Well, that brought up another question that was not on our questions, but I'll go ahead and mention it because it is about it. In Blackbird's First Flight, we have our first encounter with Maeve, the mm-hmm. fairy,
yes.
and where we learn wishes are dangerous. And then we have a second encounter in Blackbird's Second Flight, where we also learn wishes can be, the consequences of wishes can be dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
What inspired Maeve?
I am training to be a storyteller, a bard. So I specialize in Celtic fairy tales. And if you read a lot of fairy tales, the super old ones, the ancient ones, the fairies are human size and are often mistaken for people. But as the Christian church swept across the British Isles, they minimized what they couldn't integrate. And so the ferries started getting smaller and smaller until we have Tinkerbell today. And I just wanted to write a modern fairy story that had an ancient fairy. That's kind of how the whole thing started. I wanted people to be reading this in 300 years and going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So this is an ancient fairy.
We're going to come back to Maeve in a moment. I'm going to drop over there to Jean, where Lisa asked you, she says, Quinn, which is in Blackbird's First Flight, is a scary story. Are you scared of mannequins? I am, Lisa says. So are you scared of mannequins? Did you think that story was frightening?
Not for me, but I can see how mannequins could be scary, because if you get them in the right light or find them where you're not expecting to see them, that could be a pretty creepy experience. So Lisa, I can understand where mannequins might be scary. Quinn doesn't seem as scary to me, except the concept, if it were real, would be scary. So, if people were being converted into mannequins, that would be pretty creepy. So, yeah, I guess if you found a way to make it happen for real, that would be scary.
But there's a twist on your mannequins that we're not going to tell them about, because I think there were a Twilight story where people got converted into a mannequin, but your Quins are different than that, and we'll just leave that there. Wendy, Lisa also said, it says you're training to be a bard, and you mentioned that. What does that mean? How do you become a bard?
Well, the way I became a bard was I met a bard, and I said, hey, I write historical fiction. I'll be your apprentice. And he said, okay, and that's how it all started, almost 3 years ago. Basically what that means is you learn you learn the stage presence. You have to memorize the stories, and the more stories you memorize, the better. But it's more about learning how to interact with an audience and kind of read the people so that you can tell if you're dragging, if you're going too fast, and that's basically what it entails. That and learning and reading lots and lots and lots of stories.
Now, you're an apprentice to a bard?
I am, yes. And basically what that means in modern times is I just don't know nearly as many stories as my mentor does.
Is this I'm not even sure how to approach this. Is this through a clan, or do you get a title from it, or you have to carry around a staff from now on, or?
We do. My husband is the commissioner for the Clan Campbell Society of North America for the state of Illinois. So we go to various Scottish games throughout the state. And while I'm there at the games, helping with the clan tent and so forth, I do carry a staff, but mostly because I'm on my feet a lot and it helps my back if I can lean on the staff. And I tell stories on demand. Sometimes they pay me to tell stories, and that's very exciting. I love it when they do that. But basically what it means is when people say they want a story, I have stories on demand.
Do you write your own stories, or are you telling older tales?
Both. Both. I have a couple of stories that I've written about warrior queens who do not have many stories of their own. And I have lots of stories that I've memorized and learned and retell frequently.
Okay, and we're going to come back for that in just a moment here, and we'll do our next giveaway. Now, before you start sending your emails, listen to me first, okay? I'm going to take the 20th person, and in your subject line, put Amazon gift card. And this is for a $20 Amazon gift card, and this is available to both the United States and Canada. So email Amazon gift card as a subject line to miniriversharbor@gmail.com. That's M-A-N-Y, Rivers, R-I-V-E-R-S, Harbor, H-A-R-B-O-R, at gmail.com. And if you're the 20th person, then you'll receive a $20 Amazon gift card, which, of course, I know you'll use to buy Blackbird's Second Flight or Blackbird's First Flight or whatever.
Both. I could get both.
Yes, you could get both. David wanted to know, Duel in the Sky, which is my story, says, before I forget, Stephen, Duel in the Sky has plenty of brutal action. It's obvious your view of professional sports, but don't sports in general applaud violence? You know, I don't really think that's true. I don't think that's true in college level. You may have violent people sometimes, but I don't really think you get the level of money. I don't think you get the, I don't know. I mean, you see on TV all the time where a professional athlete has done something criminal, and they continue to receive millions. And I don't think you see that in college. Sometimes that's true, but for the most part, I say that it's not. So really that's my viewpoint of it. And I don't think that's true for all professional sports either, or all professionals who play sports, but there are, I think, a bad element, and I don't think the NFL and the other sports organizations have policed it as well as they should have. And then the next question is for me too. Theo asked me what gave me the idea for Duel in the Sky. Will there be a sequel? I don't think there'll be a sequel. That sport may show up in a book, but I don't think there'll be a sequel for those particular characters.
Well, since they're dead.
Well, that makes it harder. We write fantasy and science fiction, so who knows?
Justina can bring them back.
Exactly. My brother, back when I was I tried to find this paper. He wrote this one paragraph of the story that would eventually become Duel in the Sky, and that's all he wrote. And I think I was maybe 13 or 14, which has been a few years ago. And so I wrote the story. Well, when we were working on Blackbirds, I was sorting through some things, and I came across this story, and it was horrible. I was not a genius at 14. And so the more I read it, the more I thought, you know, there's certain things about this that I really do like. So I completely rewrote the story. I mean, it in no way resembles the first story at all, other than her name and sort of the general concept. So my brother came up for the name of Asedith, who is the heroine of the story, but other than that, there's nothing left of that story. Later on, people are like, oh, you must have seen the Silver Surfer movie, but that was written, it didn't predate the Silver Surfer comic book, of course, or his appearance in the comic books, but it certainly predated his appearance in the Fantastic.
Oh dear.
Hangouts have a tendency to block out once in a while.
Oh dear, he's disappeared.
Uh-oh.
Whatever shall we do?
I don't know. We're left to talk amongst ourselves.
What was that about? Giveaways? What of Stevens can we give away?
Well, we better not touch his Yeti microphone. That would be a problem.
No, that could be a real issue.
Steven and Yetis, yeah. I wonder why he doesn't write a story about Yetis.
I don't know. I think we need one of those in Third Flight.
Maybe yeah.
Third Flight needs to be all about mythical monsters.
Ooh, mythical monsters. Wouldn't that be neat?
Yes.
We could have fun with mythical monsters.
So I've been typing in this chat box, and I don't know if anybody else is seeing it. If any of you viewers are seeing it and would like to respond, please feel free to type in the chat box right there.
Yeah. I don't know if that's just for us or for everybody. It should be for everybody, I would think.
I don't know. Some small part of me would like to think that we had 47 people on the last one just because I typed I Love Blackbirds Second Flight on there.
That would be good.
But then maybe that's just magical thinking.
Yeah. Magical thinking. What kind of mythical monsters can you think of?
Oh, well, fairies definitely fit in there. So we can have another Maeve story.
Yeah.
Mythical, well, dragons fit in there.
Sure.
Trolls, mages. Well, mages aren't really monsters.
Well,
Oh,
they
griffins.
could be.
We can have some griffins. We can have some
Oh,
phoenixes.
griffins, yeah. Phoenixes.
Would it be phoenixes or phoenix eye?
Good question. Phoenix.
So Stephen better hurry up and come back because we still have a whole nother hour of this.
Yeah, I think he did this on purpose.
I think so.
Yeah. I heard something on the radio today as I was getting over to the shop, and I swore it was like an Elvis came back from the dead thing. It was weird.
Wow. Okay, so we need a zombie Elvis in Third Flight.
Well, a mythical monster. Not that Elvis is a monster, but...
But he is mythical.
At this point, yes. An idea flitted in and out of my head about that time, but I don't think I still have it anymore. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
So,
what kind of mythical monster would you do?
yeah, that's a good question. I've got polar bears and cats and dogs. Well, I haven't done dogs yet, but that's a possibility. But that's really not a mythical monster. Although I do have a cat or two that might be a monster. There he is.
Oh, there's Steven.
He's back. Hi, Steven. Well, his face is back. Come on. You can.
Oh,
there he
you're
is.
back just in time. We were this close to giving away your house.
Okay. Actually, my power went out for a moment.
Oh no.
And I don't know what the deal is. We're not having a storm or anything here, and so I'm not sure. It just flickered, and I lost my connection.
You know, the funny thing is, I thought that we might have a storm this afternoon and I might lose power, but it didn't happen. So I shouldn't have thought that, maybe.
We had 2 storms here and never lost power. And frankly, I never thought we would.
Well, it's I planned for so many things going wrong, but I did not plan for that going wrong. So
note to self: backup generator for the next one.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not sure what's happening at my system. I'm still having a little bit of trouble here. There, I'm back. Okay, are y'all back? Y'all are back. There you are. Can you see me? I can see you.
Yep.
We can see you. We were talking about Blackbird's Third Flight, and maybe we should do mythical monsters for that one.
Fickle monsters?
Mythical.
Mythical.
Okay.
Monsters. That's pretty cool. What kind of monsters could you make out of pickles?
Okay, pickle monsters. That would be interesting.
Actually, we thought that maybe you should write a story about Yetis.
Oh, yes, because I love Yetis. Okay, and of course I couldn't tell anyone, but we've already given it away. And hold on a second till I get back to the right text. It's been an exciting technological afternoon here for me. I guess it's Daniel. He didn't actually send his name. He just his email address looks like it's Daniel Winters.
Oh.
For the light, Daniel Winters won the Amazon gift card. Daniel, for the Amazon gift card, I have your email address, and it'll be coming. There'll be a link coming from Amazon to your email, so you don't have to send me. But you already have sent me your shipping information and phone, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be on here to tell you not to do that. Now I'm going to throw something at the girls. They don't know this coming. Now I'm assuming you both have a copy of Blackbirds available.
It's in the other room.
It's in the other room? Well, you'll have enough
Yeah.
time to get it because now Wendy, because she made the mistake of showing hers, I would like Wendy to read us the first few paragraphs of Dragon Rescue. We did mention the title of that story, but that's the dragon story that everyone's been asking about. Oh,
Yes.
wait, did y'all do the story? Y'all did the question about world building, didn't you? Yeah, I already saw
Yes.
that one.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the story that applies to, that Dragon Rescue. And so if you would share a few paragraphs of it with it, and after you do, and after Jean reads a few paragraphs of hers, we'll have another giveaway.
Okay. Do you want me to just flat out read, or do you want the story behind the story in the background that precipitated this?
Whichever you prefer. Do your best barding for us.
Oh, yeah, you'll never get me to shut up now. Snow blew off the tree limbs as the wind gusted. Sunlight cast dappled shadows. The forest felt muffled, insulated. It made her nervous, which irritated her. She was a Camnoir, guardian of Balfren, one of the elite dragon riders that defended Balfren against all sorts of enemies. Why was she afraid of a bunch of trees? Fire exploded across the sky. Jennifer picked up her game bag, crossbow, walking stick, and headed toward the nearest clearing. She felt a little better when she broke through the tree line. The snow, deep enough to cover the ankles of her knee-high fur-lined boots, sparkled unblemished and pink in the setting sun. She took the bolt out of her crossbow, stowed it in the quiver on her shoulder, and released the string. A flash in the sky caught her attention, and she walked to the center of the clearing, hooking the chain around around her neck with one finger. She drew out the pendant out of her shirt and held it on her mittened palm. After all this time, she still had no idea how the beacon worked, and Quillen couldn't explain it in a way she could understand. She looked up, and his shadow fell across the clearing. He started circling down.
Okay, good. So now tell us the backstory, or what precipitated this
The
event.
backstory is that when I started the stories for Second Flight, I put a Facebook post up, and I said, hey, give me a first line or an idea. If I like it and I use it, I'll make you the main character. So my friend Jen posted the line about fire exploding across the sky. And I went, oh, I haven't written dragons in a while. So I wrote the story, and I changed the spelling of her name just a bit, and that's who my friend Jen, my fencing partner and my scotch drinking buddy, is the dragon rider in this story.
You live such an interesting life. You're in the apprentice bar, and you're talking about your fencing partner and drinking your scotch. Although, of course, I guess this could all be some sort of alcoholic-induced
all Celtic.
fantasy. So while we're waiting for Jean to find hers, I'll read a little bit from Grave Concerns, which is my second story to feature Justina Graves. The first story was in Blackbirds First Flight, where I featured Justina, and this is the beginning paragraphs of the second story, which is called Grave Concerns. Upside down, Justina Grave hung over the pit of fire. She struggled against the duct tape and rope, binding her arms and hands. She'd already decided she couldn't chew through the tape on her mouth. It's like the bad guys have a manual on my powers, she thought. Someday I'm going to find the person who invented duct tape and beat the crap out of him. Soon you will burn, the blood shaman shouted up to her. The flames will devour you. Your magic will be mine. Mine! Oh, give it a rest, you freak. The shaman's men threw more wood onto the fire. Sparks swirled up and past her. It wouldn't be long until she started roasting. And in the shadows, where the fire threw only rags of light, she could see the shaman's master watching, waiting for her to die. And that's the beginning from my story in Blackbird's Second Flight. And now let's pick up on Jean. Jean, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Okay. Am I there now?
You're here now.
Okay. What did you want to hear?
Why don't you read from the first few paragraphs from Malone, because Malone has such a distinctive voice.
Okay. Where is... Okay. Hey. Got Malone. Malone here. I don't stand for no disrespect. When that dizzy dame brought a dog into my territory, it was war. They started it, but I was going to end it. Marge, Fluffy's in here. Emerson is not. Yeah, I'm a tomcat named Fluffy. Want to make something of it?
Oh, okay. I thought
You want more?
I thought you'd read a little more for us. Of course, it's such a good story that I'm just sitting there listening to that voice, thinking about that cat. Okay, we're having more technical difficulties here, and I guess what we're going to need to do, I'm going to go ahead and announce the contest, and then we're going to cut this short because I have a feeling we're about to be knocked off of the air. I think we've lost Jean, actually, off of the regular broadcast part. She's froze up on us right now.
Bummer.
But we'll go ahead and make this we'll make it the 25th person. The 25th person who, now don't send the email yet, okay? You'll win Blackbird's First Flight, Blackbird's Second Flight, and you'll also win a $10 Amazon gift card if you're the 25th person to email manyriversharbor@gmail.com, and in the subject line put I love Blackbird's First Flight. Okay, and go now, and we'll hang on here until we actually have a winner, and then that way I can tell you so that y'all stop sending me email. And Wendy, how did you get into writing?
I've been writing pretty much since I could put sentences together, but I didn't figure out that I wanted to be a writer until I was 30, and was homeschooling. And actually, we weren't homeschooling quite then, but you know, my kids were little, and it was therapy for me, especially when we were homeschooling. I murdered a lot of characters when we were homeschooling. My MO was kill, highlight, delete, repeat.
And Jean, what got you into writing? Whoops, I don't seem to have Jean here.
I see Jean.
There she is. There she is.
Okay, you found me. What got me into writing? I had a tremendous high school English teacher. I wrote a lot of poetry that was really bad in high school. Nobody saw it, fortunately. That was before Facebook days when you would put that stuff up there. And I could technically do the writing. I was good technically at writing, and so I thought, well, maybe it'd be nice to be a writer. I went to college to be a veterinarian, which that didn't quite pan out. The D in chemistry didn't help. I could have fixed that later, and I probably could have, but I decided that I was already doing other things at that time. And so I did, when I went back to college, I did focus on technical writing. And I'd come home from my initial college thing and asked my high school English teacher if he thought I could be a writer, and he said, he thought for a minute, and he said yes. But then I kind of got caught up in other parts of life, and I really liked James Michener, and I noticed he didn't publish his first thing until he was 42, so I kind of put it off until then. And what I didn't really think about is I needed to do a lot of work before I turned 32. It wasn't like I was just going to turn 32 and magically be able to write great fiction. I don't know why I thought that that might happen, but it didn't. So I'm a little behind where I should be. I should have been spending that time from when I was 18 or 19 till 42 practicing, but I didn't practice very well.
I have to say I still love James Michener, and we just had our winner, and oh, okay. What? Hold on just a second. A friend of mine is following this for me, so. Okay. Lisa, you didn't include your last name. We have several of the Lisas, but this is the Lisa who's at yahoo.com, and your address. I mean your email. Well, I hate to tell your email address, but it's none of the other ones are at Yahoo. So Lisa will be sending you a thing for you right now. So you're our winner, and we appreciate it. You'll receive Blackbird's First Flight and Blackbird's Second Flight, as well as a $10 Amazon gift card. And since we're ending this now, because like I said, the connection is showing that our bandwidth is going lower and lower, I want to put our book up there again, tell you about Blackbird's Second Flight. It is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and also Books A Million, just any online retailer, and you can find Blackbird's Second Flight. We sure appreciate all of you joining us. There was quite a crowd there, and we were... well, there's a bunch of you. So, and I appreciate all of you being there. And next time we'll know better about how to set up chat so we can actually, this is our first one, so there's some technical difficulties, but we'll be able to set up chat so you can more directly interact with us while we're on the air. And then also we'll be able to, let's see here, what's this going on? All right. No, I can take care of that later. Anyway, we sure appreciate everyone, and we're going to go ahead and sign off now. And thank you, and read Blackbird's Second Flight. Any you girls have something else to add? Jean?
Thanks for coming. Glad you were all here.
Wendy?
Thanks for coming, and hi, Mom!
Your mom's one of the ones watching us. I never could find her name, but the list kind of rolls, and I was like,
Yeah.
and so I didn't have time to find her. But hi, Wendy's mother. Glad you joined us. And we'll see you next time.